Raise your hand if you've ever had an idea. Anyone here ever had an idea to do anything? All right, that should be about all of them. The reason I asked you this is because that's the same thing that started my story that's led me here to be with you guys today. I was 16 years old. I was sitting on my couch watching the election results come in from the 2004 election between John Kerry and George Bush. And I was sitting on my couch and I was really frustrated as I watched the returns come in that more people under the age of 35 hadn't turned out to vote. Because I thought that if young people turned out and voted, that young people would have the ability to have an impact on decisions that got made in our country and what that would mean for the future of people in that generation. I was frustrated about it, but I didn't know what I could do. I wanted to do something, but I was 16 years old. I didn't have any power. I couldn't even vote. I didn't have a lot of powerful friends. I didn't have a lot of money. I didn't really have anything that traditionally is how you gain influence in the political system. But I looked around my room and I saw that there was a video camera, and I heard that there were these people who were doing things with video cameras. I'd heard that there was this website called YouTube, and that people were using ways to take film and get around the traditional Hollywood studio system to have an impact on how people perceive social issues. And I said, well, what if I made a movie about the role of young people in our political process? Now, I had no idea whatsoever how to make a movie. I never made one before. I never really even used the video camera. The only experiences I'd had with a video camera were my dad videoing me around when I was a kid. And so I went out to Best Buy. I got a video camera, and I said, okay, well, I think the first thing I should do is go and talk to some politicians about this issue and say, why is it that more young people don't vote, and start from there. Now, of course, I had no idea how to contact politicians or how to get their attention, so I went on the internet. I went on Google and I typed in, how do you get in touch with a politician? It seemed like a fairly good place to start. And I discovered there were people called press secretaries and communications directors, and you had to go through them to get to the politicians. And then I found a website that helped me see how you could actually find the email addresses of all these people. And so, in my 16-year-old, very self-assuredness, I typed out these very important letters telling these members of Congress and their communications directors why it was incredibly important for them to talk to me. This was about the future of America. This was about the future of our country. And the first thing that happened is I got something back that said, I'm out of the office on vacation. And I said, oh my God, this is going to be a disaster. This is all these people, no one's ever going to respond to me. But sure enough, after about a couple weeks, a senator from my home state of Connecticut emailed me back and said, sure, I'll give you 15 minutes to come into my office. And I hadn't told these people that I was 16 years old. So, they were, when I showed up, they were sort of assuming that they were going to get some seasoned, documentary filmmaker, and I was still figuring out how to use my camera at the time. But I showed up, and one thing led to another, and I was very, very persistent. I emailed some of these senators and members of Congress and their staffs, every day, and called them every day to basically the point where they just said, okay, we'll give this kid some time for him to go away. And I ended up interviewing over 100 senators, members of Congress, politicians over the course of several years, and talking to them about this set of issues, about why it's important for young people to get engaged, why it's important for young people to vote. And I traveled all over the country talking to young people, talking to thinkers, actors, people in the media to help understand this issue. And what resulted was a documentary called 1808, which came out in the 2008 election cycle, and took it all over the country to over 1,000 events, registered 25,000 new voters at events we did all over the country, and had this incredible experience of really being able to see the incredible energy and enthusiasm of this generation. During the height of the 2008 election cycle, as many of you may recall, it was an incredible financial collapse and economic meltdown that changed the rest of this country's history. And one of the things that I encountered on college campuses and communities of young people in the days after that is this incredible sense of optimism and resilience. A desire to go out and do something bigger than whatever they thought their job was going to be when they graduated. And I was incredibly impressed by that. And the film took on a life of its own. We took it all over the country, as I mentioned, and I found myself talking to presidents and ambassadors, and asked to speak on panels with people who were leaders of movements in the 1960s, and had this incredible experience, which led me to really get very excited about the power of people in my own generation. And we did a follow-up film in 2012. I went on to write a book and do a lot of other things around this set of issues. And all that has brought me here to you guys today. Now, if you remember at the beginning of this story, there are only 3 things that I needed to do this. One was the camera, which now you don't even have to go out and buy a video camera, it's all on your phone. 2 was the internet, which all of you have. And the 3rd thing was an idea. When I look back on my trajectory, I really think it's an example of one of the things that really is incredibly true of people in this generation today that hasn't always been true of young people. Certainly wasn't true 20 years ago. The ability to take an idea and turn it into action. Something that you are passionate about, something where you have some raw skills and just something that is a burning desire in you to do something. It's never been easier to do that. It's never been easier for ordinary people to become extraordinary when motivated by something that you really, really just can't get out of your head. And that's certainly what happened to me. And it's something that's absolutely possible for every single one of the people who are here today. And when I think about what that means, we've seen some great examples today of incredible people who started their lives out as ordinary people who've become extraordinary. We've seen videos of them. They've been up on this stage. They're scientists. They're people who started companies. They're people who've started nonprofits. There are more organizations and businesses being started by young people today than ever before. And what this means is we have this incredible ability to impact the world that we are going to be living in. This is the largest generation in history. There are 80 million people in this generation in the United States alone. There are over 1 billion worldwide. So it's the largest generation we've ever seen. It's also one of the most diverse. It's one of the most technologically savvy generations. It's a generation that understands the role of being in a global society better than anyone else has before. And we're also a highly pragmatic generation. We understand that change doesn't come about miraculously overnight, but that it's a long and involved process. But at the same time, we're idealistic. We believe that we want to impact change in a major way in our life. And at the same time we have that in our world, we also have a generation of people who, while our numbers in terms of voting are higher than they've ever been, our desire to serve in public office, our desire to engage with the political system is at a really, really low point. A survey conducted a couple months ago by Harvard indicated that only 35% of people in this generation think that running for public office is an honorable thing to do. Now, in a nation that is built on having great public servants to lead us out of problems, that's a pretty troubling sign for where we're headed in the future. Now, I totally understand why all these things are the case. And everyone here is saying, well, yeah, why would I want to run for public office? Why would I want to engage in the political system? And it's true, for this generation, we have only seen politics operate at its worst. For our entire lifetime, we've seen dysfunction, we've seen scandal, we've seen bad decisions. We've really never had an opportunity to see government work. But before many of us were born, the United States government solved some of the most pressing problems in our world. The fact that all of us can drink clean drinking water, for instance, is a tribute to the United States government. The fact that we have a highway system that allows you to drive from here to California, if you so choose, is a tribute to the United States government. So the government has solved some of the biggest problems in our society, and we don't even think about it on a daily basis. So each one of you here in this room has the ability to generate incredible influence, and the kind of influence that people who were sitting in your shoes 40 years ago, or certainly 100 years ago, could never even conceive of or imagine. So when we think about that, take that responsibility incredibly seriously. As you go back and you go home tonight and you're thinking about what you learned today, think about what it is that matters to you. Think about what it is that you're good at.
where does your passion align with your skills and your abilities, and where does that align with your ideas and what you want to be in the world? Because change starts from that very intersection today. It's never been a better time to be young. You've never been able to do more as a young person than we are today. And I'd also ask you to keep in mind that politics is too important to be left to professionals. So when you think about what you want to do with your life, don't think about the fact that politics, our political system, doesn't work. Think about the fact that if you did something in it, you could actually make a difference. Thank you guys very much.